My son, Ross Ulbricht, was given a double life sentence plus... Thank you. My son, Ross Ulbricht, was given a double life sentence plus 40 years without parole. So what did he do? Is he a mass murderer? Did he bomb a building? Did he run a child trafficking ring? Not even close. He's in there because of a website called Silk Road that he created, and that was a website that emphasized privacy and used Bitcoin as the only means of exchange. And he was never charged with causing any death or bodily injury. No victims were named at trial. It's for a website, and it was really the first proof of use of Bitcoin, where it demonstrated that Bitcoin could actually be used as money. And for that reason, he has been called the second most important figure in Bitcoin's history after Satoshi. And many people have told me that without Ross's vision and what happened on Silk Road, that it proved Bitcoin was money, none of us would be here today. There would be no Bitcoin. It would be the plaything of geeks and very obscure, and most people wouldn't have heard of it. Now, just to let you know about the site a little bit, it's kind of like eBay, but it only took Bitcoin, and it emphasized privacy. There are many legal things on there. This is from government's evidence, some of the things that were on there. However, there were drugs on there because it was considered a free choice. It was mostly, almost overwhelmingly, small amounts of cannabis. Nothing that created a victim or hurt a third party was permitted, because it was based on the non-aggression principle. It was all voluntary. So, for example, there no stolen property, no child pornography, and no violent products or services were permitted. So, why did the government come down so hard? And I think it was because of the Bitcoin. People say Bitcoin is a lot of things. It's a currency, it's a store of value, it's a scam, but it's also a philosophy. It is a revolutionary idea. And Ross wrote about it in an essay that he called Bitcoin Equals Freedom. And he wrote about the early adopters, himself being one. And he said, they dreamed of a future where the economic power of the world is accessible to everyone. And of course, we've been talking about that all day today. Where value can be transferred anywhere with a keystroke. They dreamed of prosperity and freedom. And I think it was this revolutionary idea that was very threatening. Someone on a panel earlier said, Bitcoin will destroy the banks. Well, banks don't like that. The financial powers do not like that kind of thing. And I think its philosophy of monetary freedom was very threatening. The judge, this is a quote from her sentencing, she made it very clear that she understood that it was a philosophical project, and she found that very troubling and dangerous. And she said, I don't know if it's a philosophy left behind, so I guess I need to keep you in a cage for the rest of your life. A walking death sentence for this. So I want to also read an excerpt from an essay Ross wrote that's in the Bitcoin magazine that's in your tote bag that you got for their 10th anniversary. It's on this page. And he talks about how Bitcoin, and it's very much aligned with the vision of this conference. He talks about how the Bitcoin technology can repair injustices and revolutionize the globe into a more equitable society and more opportunity for more people who right now are shut out. And in it, he says, Bitcoin needs us to continue guiding it with the values it was founded on that gave it its potential. We must keep our focus on decentralization, privacy, and empowering individuals. It is a technology with the power to make abstractions like peace and equality into reality. But it's up to us to embody such ideals and be role models for the ever-growing Bitcoin community and for Bitcoin itself. And as has been addressed, there are 2 billion people on the planet who are shut out of banks and the opportunity to have loans. You know, it's pretty hard to start a business or buy a house if you can't get a loan. And Bitcoin can provide a way to lead people into a more financially inclusive future. And again, I think this is the revolutionary idea, and this alternative currency is why Ross has been basically made an example of by the government to stop other people from doing it. It didn't work, but I think that's what it was. And I really became convinced of this because all the other defendants in the case got 10 years or less. This includes the biggest drug seller on the site, who's in the top left. He got 10 years. It includes 2 corrupt federal agents who, well, there's a whole long story about that. But there's a lot of corruption in the investigation. And it includes Blake Benthall, who ran Silk Road 2, which was, according to the government itself, identical but much larger. He got no prison time at all. And then there's my son at the bottom right, 2 life sentences plus 40 years. This is from the BOP. Ross's release date says life. It should say death. And Blake Benthall, who ran the bigger site, never did jail time. He did 13 days, well, prison time. He did 13 days in custody. He's out. So it's about, I really believe it's about the Bitcoin. And then it came out about a year ago that the NSA, the full power of the federal government, was so concerned about Bitcoin that it used the NSA to track down Bitcoin users a few months before the takedown of Silk Road and Ross's arrest. So there's so much to the story. I mean, the case is very complicated. I can't go into it all. But as I mentioned, there are corrupt agents that could act as the administrator and mess with the site. They stole 20,000 Bitcoin. There's proof of tampered evidence that was used against Ross in the trial. This was discovered after trial. Also discovered after trial was that someone else was using the DPR, the top admin account. There's a lot of evidence that there were many people running it. And then they also, and they do this, the government does this routinely, I've been told, and I know of cases where, including cases, well, a lot of different cases, where people are smeared with false allegations, often murder for hire. It's one of their favorites. It was actually, Ross was smeared with this, and it was actually a plot the material was provided by the corrupt agent who's now in prison that I showed you his picture a minute ago. And also and then all the charges were dropped. But by then, the sentence had been justified with it, and lots of other things happened. So he was railroaded, basically, and we came up with, based on the public record, it's on our website, it's called Railroaded, and if you want to learn more, you can go there and dig as deep as you want. But basically, there's so much wrong with it, and it puts us all in peril when this kind of thing happens in our justice system. So Ross was railroaded right into prison, and right into a maximum security prison, even though his security score was so low he should be in a camp. He's totally nonviolent. There's no violent charges. He has no criminal history, nothing. He organized this photo of himself and some fellow prisoners who are all serving life for non-violent drug charges. And we talked about the drug war earlier on another panel. The government has weaponized the drug war against people, and certainly in black communities, but against anyone they can get. And these guys are serving life. Tony, who's in the back row, third from the left, it's for marijuana. And this federal prison happens to be in Colorado, where at a state level it's legal, but he's on federal land. He's serving life, no violence whatsoever. This is terrible. This is a horrible thing that's going on. Here I am visiting that prison. That's a sniper tower behind me, and then 3 layers of razor wire. And it was creepily reminiscent of another place I visited. I was on a speaking tour of Eastern Europe, and ended up at Auschwitz. This is the Nazi concentration camp in Poland. And I overheard a tour guide say to his group, he said, "The lesson here is watch your politicians. This wasn't that long ago." And I would say, watch your government, because this is happening right now. Ever since the war on drugs, the prison population has metastasized 800%. Over 60% of prisoners are nonviolent drug offenders and immigration offenders. Over 60%. It's huge business. They use over-sentencing, these excessive sentences, to keep people in there, making money off them for lifetimes. Here, life sentences have quintupled since the 80s and the drug war. When I was growing up, hardly anybody got life. I mean, you'd have to be a mass murdering maniac to get life. And now there's over 17,000 nonviolent people serving life in our prisons. So, here we are, national disgrace, a humanitarian crisis that the United States of America, is the largest incarcerator in the world. It's because of the drug war, they're using the drug war to do that. So, like so many other people, thousands of other people, my son is growing older in prison. Here he is on the left, before he was arrested, and now he's in prison. But so many people. It's not unique at all. And of course, and he's no threat to anyone. He should be here talking to all of you, talking about the blockchain, all the exciting things. He would have a lot to contribute. And that's true of so many of the people in there. And not only their families are deprived of them, their children are deprived of them, and society is. And I talked to a woman at the prison. I get to know the families, of course. We all do get to know each other that are visiting. And she said, before this happened, my kids were getting straight A's. I was holding it together. We had a great family. And now everything is falling apart in our family. And what happens is these kids are more likely to end up in prison too. So that just keeps the inventory coming into this monster, this mass incarceration monster that is devouring people. It's really un-American and evil what's going on. I want to read one more I want to read something that Ross wrote about this. You can tell he's writing a lot in prison. And it's about prison. And he talks about how it's called Who Deserves This? And he talks about how the system is based on vengeance. It's not about rehabilitation. It is not correctional. They love to call themselves correctional. It's not correctional. And he said that he went around and talked to his fellow prisoners, and he said, so if you had a choice for being tortured, literally tortured, for a finite time, or doing a long time in prison, which would you pick? And they all picked torture. It basically is torture. And so I just wanted to read this part. Vengeance and cruelty are not aspects of our nature to be honored and institutionalized. They are base and destructive. They hurt all parties. Our families and communities are hurting. Humanity is hurting. The pain of your fellow human being is your pain too, even though it is locked away in remote prisons. We can do better. We have the potential to rise above this darkness, to be proud of how humanely we treat prisoners, and how few we need to brand with that label. Instead, we hand out years, decades, and lifetimes of imprisonment to virtually every person the government targets. We keep building cells like the one I'm writing this from. And he concludes, prisoners are not inventory. We are not numbers or statistics. We are human beings, and we don't deserve this. So this is an important case. It's a high-profile case, and it sets a precedent. It sets a precedent for cryptocurrency, people involved in cryptocurrency. There are many people who are in prison because of activities with Bitcoin. And also it sets a precedent for these excessive sentences. And that kind of precedent filters down to less high-profile cases. The courts rely on precedent. They go, oh, well, he got that sentence. Well, yeah, you're going to get that too. And this cuts across all races, all aspects of all communities. And it really needs to stop. You know, it's un-American. It's against our values and our morals to do this kind of thing. So we're really all here today, at least there's a case that can be made because of Ross's vision. And we're pursuing cryptocurrency and Bitcoin and all its potential because of that. So as was mentioned, we have a online petition. Please sign it. Please go and sign our petition. It takes less than a minute, and we already have over 200,000 signers. My goal is 500,000. I want to be able to go to the president and say, 500,000 people care about this. Please consider commuting this sentence, correcting this sentence. If that happens, it will again filter down and help other people who are being over-sentenced. Also, here we are in Washington, D.C. If anybody has connections in this town, in Washington, politically in any way, please let me know. I'm trying to get to the president and call his attention to this case. And my son, you know, we're all here enjoying this. He's in a cage fighting for his life, as so many others are, and I speak out about everyone who's suffering from this every time I speak. We're hoping that his case will shine a light on all those people. So please go to the website. There's tons of information. There's ways to help and you know, spread the word on social media. You know, we're just one family with some help, and including from this conference in Sinclair. And so anyway, thank you for hearing me out and for having me. Thank you.